Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be going over another one of the new uniques that was introduced in Season 5, and this is the Umbracrux, part of a pair of twin daggers that are forbidden to ever meet. The other of the two, which we're going to go ahead and touch tips here, and I'm just kidding, is the Mortarcrux. So the Mortarcrux and the Umbracrux, these are the two daggers. And because they're different classes, well, they never can actually be used on the same character now, can they? But they are two of the same blade, apparently, according to the flavor text, which says one of a pair of twin daggers forbidden from ever meeting. Bitter voices whisper from the blade. The Umbracrux is a very interesting rogue unique that has been added in Season 1.5 with Season 1.5.0 patch. And it has interesting little things here. Let's go over this together and let's talk about this. So first off, it has 50% damage increase added natively on the item, so it's a passive. It cannot be increased with masterworking or anything. It's just a flat 50% damage bonus. On top of this, it also has a 76 to 90 increase to your dexterity, which is the main stat for the rogue, of course. And on top of that, it also has 30 to 40% vulnerable damage increase, which will help you with your scaling. Obviously, rogues have no issue making things vulnerable, so basically just a flat additive bonus on top of that. It also gives you a 7 to 9 second 9% reduction in your subterfuge cooldowns, and subterfuge cooldowns include everything from your dark shroud, your poison trap, also things like your concealment ability and your stun grenades. All those are considered subterfuge, so you're going to get a nice little reduction in cooldown on those. Also, it gives you a very nice bonus to Innervation. 2 to 3 bonus to Innervation. Innervation is a very nice passive ability that gives you a pretty nice restoration of your energy. As you can see, I have a lucky hit up to a 30% chance to gain 8 energy when I hit the target. And when I put on the Umbracrux, that's going to go up to a 50% chance to regain that energy, which is even better. The Umbracrux's innervation is really nice, and obviously if you can get a greater affix on that, you can pretty much restore the majority of your resource, like all the time whenever you hit the target, as long as you get a lucky hit. And it happens pretty often with like a 60% chance to lucky hit restore 8 energy. On top of this, we also have the special effect of this weapon, which is really nice. And basically what it is when you use a subterfuge skill, you will create an attackable shade totem. The shade totem is actually visible by just about everybody, and I've been playing with quite a few rogues this season, and it's been pissing me off because I can attack it too, and I'm not exactly sure if me attacking it does anything on other characters, but you can totally see it, and you can totally attack it on other characters. And when you attack this totem, any damage that it takes is replicated onto surrounding enemies at 20% effectiveness. So basically, if you hit a monster for 1,000, or the totem for 1,000, it's going to dish out 200 to everything around it in a nice little AoE. It's a very interesting way to convert a very high single target damage ability into a very nice AoE damage ability, of course. It also works, of course, with AoE damage, but the goal of this seems to be designed around the idea that you are dishing out a large amount of single target damage to the totem, which is then replicating that damage in a smaller amount to nearby monsters to basically kind of create a situation where a single target damage character can be an AoE damage character. One of the abilities like Rapid Fire, before they added the Scoundrel's Kiss, was actually surprisingly single target. It didn't really work very well unless you were fighting a single monster. However, now that you have the Umbracrux, you could potentially utilize this and shoot the Shade Totem, replicating that single target damage outward to the monsters around it and giving you some pretty nice damage in return. Now, the Shade Totem only lasts for anywhere between 3 to 8 seconds, and you probably want to see if you can find one that has an 8-second on there. But it can be summoned once, essentially, at a time. So you may only have one Shade Totem active at a time, and this damage counts as a trap skill. So it does have some trap scaling there, which is rather interesting. So the damage that's coming from the Shade Totem would probably scale with trap damage bonuses, and probably even scale with the Trap Paragon legendary node as well, which should be rather interesting. So all in all, definitely a very fun dagger, and as we play around with it, I think you'll see that it can definitely be very interesting. So let's go ahead and summon our Shade Totem. So to do this, we just need to use any subterfuge skill, and Dark Shroud is, I think, one that most rogues have on their bar because it's very good for defensive purposes. So we're going to just simply use that. And of course, now we have our Shade Totem. The Shade Totem can be attacked by any skill, and as soon as you attack it, it immediately replicates that damage onto other targets. Now, it only stays active for a very short period of time because my Umbracrux is only a 4 second, so it's only going to stay up for 4 seconds. However, I have the ability to spam Dark Shroud with relative ease due to the passive that I'm using, which is preparation. And I know you can't see the complete thing because I'm blocking it, but it says spend 75 energy to reduce your ultimate skills cooldown by 5 seconds, and ultimate skills reset other cooldowns and grant a 15% damage reduction for 10 seconds. So in this particular case, I can just simply spam it as many times as I want to by just simply doing something like this. This character is kind of silly, and if I actually pull out the multiple training dummies, you can see the damage even more so. And it's just an interesting way to kind of like replicate your damage onto the opposing targets. I definitely think that the Umbracrux is a very powerful weapon, not only in the fact that it can convert single targeted to AoE, not only in the fact that it can convert basically, you know, like even AoE damage into more AoE damage, but also the fact that it's very easy to summon. It scales for trap skills, and I've actually heard about some glitches where people were swapping weapons to get more than one Shade Totem. I don't think that's going to remain for very long. They'll probably end up fixing that. But the Innervation passive is also really nice because it basically allows you to get back most of your resource for firing abilities. There are so many ways now to conquer energy issues on the rogue that I can't for the life of me believe it when sometimes I'll be in chat and people will be like, oh man, I'm always running out of energy on my rogue. And I'm just like, you're running out of energy on your rogue? Like how? I mean, with 3 in Innervation and like maybe even with an Umbracrux or maybe some other things, like utilizing a couple things here or there, the Starlight aspect, which is absolutely amazing this season. How are you running out of energy at all? Like, I could pretty much just hold down the button. I don't even have to do anything. This is pen shot, for God's sakes. And you know, it's one of those things that really kind of makes me laugh because there's so many ways that you can potentially fix the energy issues, and this is just one of many. Like the 3 to Innervation on here is going to go a long way to fixing your energy issues because you're going to get a lucky hit restoration of 8 every single time you get that lucky hit proc, and it's going to cancel out a large amount of the energy that you have active. You can also get energy in other ways, like for instance with Consuming Shadows, when every time you kill an enemy you get 10 back. You can also get energy through the Aftermath, which literally allows you to regenerate energy at this point. So the Starlight aspect basically sets you up so that you can regenerate large amounts of energy by healing yourself. And since the Aftermath passive is literally healing me for like, I think it's like 2% per second, it doesn't take very long before all of a sudden you'll see my energy just bump up, because even the Aftermath passive with the addition of the Starlight loop is now giving me large amounts of energy. And I'm also using things like the Undying or other healing bonuses that can potentially beef that up even further. And so, like, there are lots of ways to fix the energy problems, and this is just one of many. The Umbracrux definitely seems like a very powerful item that can be added into a lot of builds. It may not necessarily be the right item for you specifically, but it definitely seems like an interesting way that you can sort of reflect some of your damage back to the target, which certainly isn't terrible. On top of this, every time you cast your subterfuge skill, you get your totem, right? Well, the Dark Shroud also has a 10% heal on it. Every time you heal for 10% of your maximum life when a Dark Shroud shadow is removed. So You can also, by spamming your Dark Shroud, keep your Dark Shroud active and also heal yourself, which is also going to restore your energy, and it just ends up kind of crazy. I think a lot of people are really excited about this Umbracrux, and I think it's a really good item too. In fact, I might have to replace my. I was thinking about this, and as I'm using it, I'm like, I'm really just going for elemental damage, and it's not that big of a deal. Like I could probably take this and shove this in here. I mean, I don't really need the permanent poison imbuements anyway. You know what I mean? So I could probably just throw that in there. And we'll think about it. I'm actually thinking about whether I want to use this or not. So I might have to test out and see which one's better. This character definitely needs a little bit of refinement to get into her utmost shape, but she is certainly not having too much trouble with it. The reason why I have so much energy restoration with this is because, of course, I'm utilizing the Beastfall boots, which allow me to do this, which is where I burn all my essence in one particular strike. And you can see that I have so much restoration that my energy literally just comes back instantaneously, even after I burn everything. So even after I literally burn every single bit of energy I have, I'm able to get it all back. And that's something that you can achieve with the Umbracrux as well. It's definitely an addition for that. Where do you get the Umbracrux? The Umbracrux, I'm fairly certain, comes from the Infernal Hordes. Well, let's go ahead and check the old Diablo 4.life target farming tool. And as you can see here, we've got the Fell Council, which is, of course, in the Infernal Hordes. I've been having a lot of trouble, in my opinion, getting unique items from the Infernal Hordes. It seems like they never want to fall for me, or when they do, they end up being like the worst versions ever. And maybe you guys have had trouble with this too. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this weapon, and also whether or not you've been able to get it effectively from the hordes. Uh, Man, I'd love to see some like greater affix versions of this too. Greater affix on the innervation would be beautiful. Then you could just take the 3 points out of innervation and you could put it in something else. Glorious. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these fun videos, even when we're just looking at one of the new daggers for the rogue. I would appreciate it if you guys hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And as always, keep watching.